Imagine for a second that you are holding this tiny, deceptively simple little book in your hands.
Yeah, something really unassuming.
Exactly. It's from 1944, so the pages are probably, a little yellowed, maybe smelling faintly of old paper and dust. The spine is super thin.
You could probably read the whole thing in, what, a single afternoon?
Oh, easily. But right there in the foreword, the author boldly claims that this slender volume holds the absolute secret of creation.
Not just, like, a helpful tip.
Right. Not a philosophical perspective, but the literal mechanism that creates reality. We are jumping into a deep dive today that asks a really disruptive question. What if your feelings aren't just your reactions to the world around you, but the actual blueprints creating that world?
It is a massive premise to pack into such a small space, to be honest. We are looking exclusively at Neville Goddard's book, Feeling is the Secret.
And the brevity of it is actually entirely intentional, right?
Totally. Goddard states right at the beginning that he could have expanded this into hundreds of pages of reasoned arguments, complex philosophical justifications.
But he chose not to.
Exactly, because he believed he was handing over a clearly defined psychological mechanism. It's meant to be treated like an instruction manual.
Like, prove it by your own personal application and success.
Yeah, rather than debating it as some abstract academic theory.
Which is exactly how we're going to approach it today. We want to give you a shortcut to understanding Goddard's ultimate hack for the human mind. We're exploring how emotion acts as the filter of reality without getting bogged down in, overly complex mysticism.
Keeping it practical.
So to start, Goddard hits us with a phrase that serves as the foundation for the entire book. He says the world is simply, quote, conditioned consciousness objectified.
That phrase definitely takes a second to digest. Conditioned consciousness objectified.
It's a mouthful.
It is. To understand what he actually means, we have to look at how he models the human mind. He divides it into two distinct parts, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind.
And because he's writing 1944, he relies heavily on the terminology of his time.
Yeah, he labels the conscious mind as objective and male, and the subconscious mind as subjective and female.
I have to say, when I first read that, my modern sensibilities immediately tripped over the gendered language. It feels a bit dated.
Oh, totally. It definitely reflects the era. But looking closer at the mechanics of what he's describing, he's not making a social commentary.
Right.
He's using it as a very specific biological metaphor.
Yeah.
And that metaphor is crucial for understanding the how of his philosophy.
He's using the mechanics of reproduction.
Exactly. The conscious mind, the objective part of you, is what generates ideas. It chooses what to focus on and acts as the seed. The subconscious mind is the womb.
It receives that seed.
Yes, it takes that impressed idea and gestates it. It gives it physical form and expression in your reality. The conscious mind plants the idea, and the subconscious mind blindly grows it.
Blindly, that is the terrifying word there, because reading through this dynamic, the modern analogy that instantly clicked for me is, well, a user interacting with an AI image generator.
Oh, that's a perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
Think about the implications of that kind of relationship.
Right. The conscious mind, that's you sitting at the keyboard. You are typing the prompt, you look at the blank text box, and you decide what the picture should be.
And the subconscious mind is the AI engine.
Yes. It has immense power to render reality, but absolutely zero judgment. It doesn't care if your prompt is a beautiful sunset or a terrifying dystopian nightmare.
It never stops to ask, hey, are you sure this is good for you?
Never. It just renders exactly what is requested based on the input it receives.
And that absolute lack of judgment from the subconscious is where Goddard's philosophy becomes, like, radically disruptive to how most of us live. It completely removes the concepts of chance or accident or predestined fate from your life.
Wow, yeah.
Goddard explicitly argues that chance or accident is not responsible for the things that happen to you, nor is predestined fate the author of your fortune or misfortune.
So if literally everything in your world is a rendering of the subconscious mind, you are holding the only keyboard.
Which means giving you complete, unadulterated agency.
But with that agency comes an almost crushing level of responsibility. There is no one else to blame. If the image generated in your life is a nightmare, it's because you typed a nightmare into the prompt box.
Exactly. If your environment is chaotic, you generated chaos.
It's a heavy realization. I mean, let's be real. Most people prefer the comfort of blaming circumstances.
Oh, for sure. Blaming the economy, their upbringing, or just bad luck. Goddard just rips all of that away. But the flip side of that accountability is immense power.
Because you can change it.
Yes. It means that if you don't like the world you're experiencing, you don't exhaust yourself trying to smash the screen or fight the generated image. You just change the prompt.
So if I am the one typing the prompt into this subconscious AI, what language am I actually using? Because we've all had passing thoughts of winning the lottery or becoming wildly successful.
And we aren't all billionaires.
Right. I can't just intellectually type. I want to be rich and expect the engine to render it. How does the translation from conscious idea to subconscious rendering actually happen?
So Goddard has a very strict, uncompromising rule about this. Feeling is the one and only medium. That is the crux of the entire book, hence the title.
Feeling is the secret.
Right. No idea can be impressed on the subconscious without feeling. You can repeat affirmations all day long. You can build elaborate vision boards.
You can think about a goal intellectually until you're blue in the face.
But if there is no genuine emotion attached to it, the subconscious remains completely blank. It does not register the prompt.
It only reads the emotional data.
Exactly that. However, the second part of that rule is absolute. Once a feeling is impressed, Goddard states it must be expressed. It is a fundamental law of his psychological model.
Okay, I need to hit pause here and push back on behalf of anyone listening who just felt a massive spike of anxiety.
I get it, yeah.
Because if I have to monitor every single feeling, doesn't this mean I have to suppress every negative thought or fear?
Yeah.
Let's be real. If every feeling creates reality, and I am terrified of failing a major presentation at work tomorrow, am I actively destroying my career right now?
It sounds incredibly exhausting when you frame it like that.
Frankly, it sounds like a recipe for toxic positivity, like where we just plaster a fake, panicked smile over our actual, very real human emotions.
It's the most common and immediate critique of this kind of thinking, and Goddard actually anticipated it. He explicitly defends his theory against this exact concern.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he draws a very sharp line between what he calls the disciplining of self and the suppression of emotion. He states clearly that this is not about restraint or pushing down your feelings.
Okay, that's a relief.
In fact, he argues later in the text that suppression is dangerous and leads directly to physical disease.
Then how do you discipline yourself without suppressing the fear? If I'm feeling fear and I can't suppress it, what am I supposed to do with it?
Suppression is feeling a deep fear, being consumed by it, and then trying to shove it down into a dark box while pretending it doesn't exist. Disciplining of self, according to Goddard, is about consciously choosing where you place your attention.
So it's a focus thing.
Right. Think of your mind like a radio dial. You don't try to destroy the static or the negative frequencies broadcasting fear or anger. That's impossible. They exist. But you don't have to leave your dial tuned to them.
You deliberately tune away to catch a clearer signal.
Yes. Goddard writes that you must refuse to dwell sympathetically on the imperfections of yourself or others. If a fearful thought enters your mind, you acknowledge it, you hear the static, but you don't pull up a chair and listen to the broadcast for an hour.
You don't invite the thought in for tea and wallow in all the worst-case scenarios.
Exactly. You deliberately shift your emotional dial back to the state you desire.
That makes logical sense, but I want to talk about the sheer friction of actually doing this because, it's a Tuesday morning, I'm stuck in traffic, my inbox is overflowing, and I'm stressed.
The static is really loud.
It's deafening. How does a normal person actually manage this without constantly failing?
The book acknowledges that this requires mastery, which implies practice. But what helps alleviate the pressure is his rule about conflicting feelings. Because we all fluctuate.
Thank goodness for that.
Right. Goddard writes that every feeling makes a subconscious impression, and unless it is counteracted by a more powerful feeling of an opposite nature, it must be expressed. The key word there is dominant.
So having a momentary freak out about my presentation isn't a death sentence for my career.
Not if it's just a momentary blip of static. You just have to ensure that the dominant feeling you cultivate overall the station your dial is tuned to, the vast majority of the time, is the positive one of success.
The dominant of two conflicting feelings is always the one that gets expressed.
The subconscious renders the loudest signal.
Which brings us to a really fascinating, almost structural trap that Goddard outlines. It's not just about what we feel, but the grammar of how we feel it.
Oh, this part is so crucial.
He identifies a semantic hazard that ruins the whole process. He calls it the danger of I will be.
The psychological syntax of manifestation. This is the exact spot where most people genuinely trying to apply this philosophy get permanently stuck.
He gives a very specific example in the text. He says, the feeling of I am healthy is infinitely stronger than the feeling of I will be healthy.
And on a surface level, that just sounds like grammatical nitpicking.
Right. But there is a massive psychological difference.
If we look back at our model of the subconscious womb, or the AI engine, we have to remember its core limitation. It only operates in the present tense.
It has no concept of tomorrow.
None at all. It only understands what is happening now. So when you generate the feeling of I will be healthy or I will be wealthy, what are you actually confessing to your subconscious in the present moment?
You're confessing I am not healthy right now. I'm not wealthy right now.
And because it only renders the present truth you hand it, it takes that feeling of lack and continues to gestate it.
It's like walking on a treadmill. You are putting in a massive amount of physical and emotional effort. You're sweating. Your heart rate is up.
You feel like you are doing the work.
Yeah, but structurally, you are locked into a state of reaching. You are running toward a horizon that is physically designed to keep receding. You never actually arrive.
That treadmill analogy perfectly captures the trap. To feel I will be is to trap yourself in the perpetual state of wanting. Because the subconscious accepts your feelings as present tense facts. Feeling a wish as a state that is not yet here ensures it remains unmanifested.
Wow.
The subconscious looks at your prompt and says, okay, the dominant feeling here is wanting to be healthy. I will faithfully generate a reality where you continue to want to be healthy.
I will generate a reality where you continue to want. That is profound. And honestly, it's almost a cruel joke if you don't understand the rules of the engine you're operating.
It really is.
You think you are programming success, but you are actively programming perpetual desire.
Goddard is very absolute about this. He says the wish must be felt as a state that is. What you feel you are always dominates what you feel you would like to be.
So you have to assume it's already done.
Therefore, to realize any goal, you have to assume the feeling of the wish already being fulfilled. You have to capture the emotion you would have if you were already sitting at the finish line, breathing heavy, holding the medal.
If the subconscious is completely literal and traps us in that I will be treadmill when we get the grammar wrong, what happens to the physical body when we are stuck in that state of perpetual suppressed wanting?
It's not good.
Because Goddard doesn't just keep this in the realm of psychology. He makes a very bold assertion. He says, sensation precedes manifestation.
He takes the philosophy all the way down to the cellular level. He argues that there is an unbroken connection between your internal emotional state and your visible physical world, starting with your own body.
Your body is essentially the first emotional filter.
He asserts that emotional disturbances, especially those suppressed emotions we talked about earlier, or feeling intensely about a wrong without expressing it, are the root cause of dis-ease, both in the physical body and in the environment around you.
He presents a logical equation to prove this point, which he calls the inverse law. And I have to say, this is where I really need to challenge the text.
Let's hear the challenge.
Okay, so the logic of his inverse law goes like this. We all intuitively agree that a physical fact can produce a psychological state.
Right.
If I win the lottery tomorrow, a physical fact, it naturally produces a psychological state of immense joy, relief, and security.
Sure. Absolutely.
Goddard argues that inversely, a psychological state can produce a physical fact. He's claiming that if I can fully inhabit the psychological state of joy and relief regarding financial abundance right now, sitting in my living room, it will somehow produce the physical fact of wealth in the real world.
It sounds wild, I know.
That is a massive physics-defying leap. How does he logically defend that?
He defends it by leaning completely into the foundational premise we started with. Conditioned consciousness objectified. If you accept the premise that the external world is nothing but a rendering of your internal state, then the inverse law isn't a leap at all.
It's the only logical conclusion.
Exactly. The problem is we are trained from birth to view the external world as the solid, immutable reality, and our feelings as the flimsy, reactive things. Goddard is telling you to invert that entire worldview.
We spend our entire lives waiting for the outside world to change so that we can finally grant ourselves permission to feel better.
Every single day. I'll be happy when I finally get that promotion. I'll feel secure when the mortgage is completely paid off.
I'll feel confident as soon as I lose those 10 pounds.
We hold our own emotions hostage. We demand that the physical facts show up first to justify the psychological state.
And that, according to Goddard, is the fundamental illusion of human suffering. You have the mechanism completely backward.
Think of the external world as a mirror. You are standing in front of a mirror with a frown on your face, feeling miserable, and you are waiting for the reflection in the mirror to smile first before you allow yourself to smile.
But the mirror can only reflect what is standing in front of it. It has no ability to initiate the smile.
The reflection has no agency. Only you do. So you have to smile first. You have to generate the feeling internally before there's any external evidence to justify it.
The subconscious womb needs the seed of the feeling before it can gestate the physical reality.
Which leads right into what I think is the most powerful paradigm-shifting quote in the entire book. Goddard says, "You never draw out of the deep of yourself that which you want. You always draw that which you are."
You always draw that which you are. It forces you to completely redefine what the word faith means.
In the context of feeling is the secret, faith isn't some abstract religious concept or hoping against hope. Faith is literally just feeling. It is the sustained feeling of the wish already fulfilled.
A change of feeling is literally a change of destiny, because you are handing the subconscious a new present tense reality to render.
It's a remarkably tight, cohesive system he's built here.
It really is. So let's distill the core architecture of what we've explored in this 1944 text. First, consciousness is the only cause. Your world is not happening to you. It is a rendering of your internal state.
Second, feeling is the one and only language your subconscious understands. You can't outthink your reality. You have to feel your way into a new one.
And third, assuming the present tense reality of your goal, getting off the I will be treadmill and stepping into I am, is the only way to program that rendering engine.
And connecting this to why it matters so deeply for you listening right now, regardless of your career, your technical expertise, or the specific chaos of your daily life. It's about reclaiming control in an era that desperately wants to take it from you.
We live in a society defined by profound information overload.
From the moment we wake up, screens and feeds are broadcasting static, constantly handing us reasons to feel anxious, fearful, inadequate, or outraged.
Everyone and everything is trying to type a prompt into your subconscious.
Precisely. And this text, written over 80 years ago, offers an incredibly powerful mental firewall. It cuts through the modern noise and simplifies your objective.
It says that your primary job, before you write that stressful email, before you walk into a hostile meeting, before you tackle any physical hurdle in your day, is to manage your own emotional state.
It shifts the battlefield from the external world, which you can't control, to your internal world, which you actually can.
It makes you fiercely protective of your attention. If you actually believe that your feelings are the literal blueprints for your tomorrow, you stop treating your emotional state like a trash can for every negative headline or minor annoyance.
You guard that radio dial with your life.
It takes the power completely away from your external circumstances and puts it squarely back in your own chest. You stop waiting for the mirror to smile.
You really do.
So, building on Goddard's assertion that capturing the feeling of the desired state relieves you of all the agonizing effort to try and force the world to change, let's go back to that tiny book from 1944.
Okay.
What if the hardest work you have to do today isn't physical labor? What if it isn't winning an argument in a boardroom or exhausting yourself on the perpetual treadmill of I will be? What if the absolute hardest, most radical work you have to do today is simply giving yourself permission to feel the relief of your goal already being accomplished?